All right. Good evening and welcome to Tuesday Night's Mate to Mate today. My name's Craig Turton. I'm the proud co-founder of 100 Words Mate to Mate, a men's health organisation raising awareness and trying to reduce the stigma about the horrendous plight of men's health in this country. More than 7 men take their own life in this country each and every day, and it is only getting worse due to the pandemic that we are all going through at the moment. So tonight, as we do each week, we started a campaign 25 weeks ago. This is actually our 25th show, so we're pretty excited about that. 25 weeks ago, we started a campaign called Mate to Mate at 8. So at some stage in the day, we want you to ring your mate, and we want to start like this. No longer do you start a conversation with your mate saying, "G'day, mate, how you going?" Okay? What we want you to do is this. "G'day, mate, how's your day been out of 10? Or, "G'day, mate, how's your week been out of 10? Polls just come up on the screen. So we want to know how your day's been out of 10. Fill out the poll and we'll go through that a little bit later on. So they are the rules of engagement. "G'day, mate, how's your day out of 10? Okay, so what we are trying to do here is mirror a conversation between two mates. I've run my mate tonight and I'm about to ask him how his day is out of 10, and then we are going to have an open and honest conversation. Now, I say this each and every week. I am a house painter. See, look at all the paint all over my hands, okay? I'm a painter. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Trust me, ask my friends, they will tell you that for sure, okay? Now, if anything tonight, here's the poll results. We've got people at 10 out of 10. Hey, hats off to those people, well done. We got people at 8s, 7s and 6s. So thank you very much for those who are jumping on a little bit late, fill that out. Now, as I said, each and every week we say this, and we'll be remiss of us not to. If anything tonight makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, there is always a number to call. That number is this, 131114. That is the number for Lifeline. We hope you don't need it, but if you do, that's the number to call. There is always someone there to pick up the phone for you. Now, tonight, well, tell you what, I've had a few phone calls today about when it went out on Facebook that I was going to interview Adrian BUTERA. My phone, fair to say, over the last couple of days went absolutely nuts. Now, Adrian, he started his real estate career in 1991. He's won so many awards over the journey. He won Victorian Novice Auctioneer after only 2 years in the business. He's won multiple Victorian titles in real estate auctioneering. He's won the REIV Senior Auctioneer Award 4 times, no less. He's reached the final of the Australasian Championships 3 times. 12 times. 12 times. Here he is, the great man. Mate, you just sit there. I'm going to read through your bio. This could take about an hour and a half.
Fantastic.
He's 12 times. He's been the auctioneer for the Good Friday appeal for the charity house, donating his time doing that. He's done a great job. He runs a podcast series called The Real Estate Story, which he's been doing all this year through COVID, giving unbelievable advice to those people in the industry. He's tracked Kokoda. He's climbed Mount Everest. Now, there's not too many people, floating around whose bum faces the ground that can say that, and he's one of them. So he's done a great job there. I got a few calls, as I said, over the last couple of days, and these are things that people said about this man. An absolute jet, a visionary, someone who never gives up, an icon of the industry, a man who people go to. Fair to say, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have got Australian real estate royalty. I give you no less than Mr. Adrian BUTERA, going once, going twice, going 3 times. Adrian BUTERA, hello, mate.
How are you?
Mate, more importantly, how's your day been out of 10, bud?
Well, I've got to average it out. I reckon it averages out at about a 6.8. There was a couple of peaks and there was a couple of troughs, but yeah, that's where it is. How about yours? How's your day out of 10?
It was about a 6 this morning, and just sort of plodding along until about lunchtime, and I've had a couple of calls since then, and been very much looking forward to today, mate. Ever since I got home and wrote a few notes and had a couple of calls, and people were pretty excited about getting you on. So I'm pretty excited, buddy.
It's nice to hear that. I don't know about real estate royalty.
Isn't that what you told me to say? No, that was said to me by a couple of guys, and you are, mate. You're a modest man, but you've achieved a lot, and you give a lot to other people, and that's it's always nice to hear that one of your mates is thought about in that way, where they give to other people. So that did not surprise me one bit. Now, my friend, you tell the people watching a bit about Adrian BUTERA.
Well, yeah, real estate's been pretty much most of my life. 48 years old, been real estate for just on 30 years. Loved it. It's been an amazing journey. Started off as a salesman out in Laylaw, out in the northern suburbs. Then progressed on to spend some time with the Ray White corporate team, which was a wonderful upbringing for me. And then after that, spent some time with my own business in Preston. And for the last 16 years out here in the inner west, Compton Green in Williamstown and West Footscray. But I've got 3 kids, 2 daughters, 11 and 13. My wife Dee, and I also have a boy that's 17, and he's part of a previous relationship, and we catch up every week. And he's a good kid. He's growing up. He's taller than me, which it's not hard to do to be taller than me. But he's also got a lot more hair than me. I've got none, and that hair just makes him look like he's about 6'3".
Mate, you and I are built from the same stature, and all good things come in small packages, my friend.
Oh, I'm gonna take that one. Thank you. I'm gonna tell the world, particularly Dee.
And hello to my wife if she's listening. Now, mate, we haven't known each other that long, have we?
No, we haven't. No,
and we haven't actually met in person, have we?
No. This is probably the second time we've virtually met like this, yes. But we've spoken a couple of times on the phone, more than a couple.
Absolutely, and they've been really insightful and meaningful conversations. And let's go back to where it first started, mate. You were made aware of 100 Words Mate to Mate through Matt Scafidis, great man who does a hell of a lot of work for us at 100 Words, and ran a function on our behalf. And tell us what happened there.
Yeah, well, I've always loved giving back to community. I particularly like helping those in need. Always have, in whether they're kids or people homeless or men's mental health. And then when I saw Andrew involved in what was going to be a presentation, and I only saw that through Facebook, and then started to follow a few of the images and comments, and learnt what was going on. I just sort of liked what I saw, and I only saw it from afar. I clearly didn't attend, but I did see through social media, and then I reached out to you, not immediately, but not long after, through Facebook, to just say, hey, this is something that I thought was really valuable, looked like it was really valuable, and I'd really like to see something like that run in the western suburbs.
And yeah, I remember I was coming back from a family holiday, and I rang you up and introduced myself and got back to you after you'd left me a message. And mate, we had a really open conversation, didn't we? About, as you said, you thought that this is something that you could do for your community out in the West, and you're pretty excited about doing that. But it got more than that, didn't it? Real quick.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it was just really weird. It's my reach out was genuine, but I think deep down I was having my own little set of challenges at the time. And then when you rang me, I just happened to have my wife in the car. We were driving, I can't remember where, but it was through the day. Kids were at school, and we had a chat, and before you know it, it was we were talking about stuff that not even my wife knew about.
It all started when we talked about you were upset about Are You OK Day, and I remember you said to me that you were disappointed that no one rang you. You were ringing other people, and being the leader that you are in the industry and the leader you are at work, it was a bit of built-up frustration, wasn't it? It's like, hang on, everyone comes to Adrian for help and guidance and leadership. So who does Adrian go to? And you were a little bit frustrated, weren't you?
I was. I certainly felt, and still to some extent, that that no one knows how I felt because no one ever asked. And because you try and be strong and save face, or you have an ego, whatever it is that becomes the blockage, I didn't go out and tell anybody, but no one was asking either. And I think largely if someone, I'm unclear of this, how I would respond, but I think depending on who was asking would depend on how strong I came out. If it was my wife asking, I think I'd answer differently. If it was one of my staff, one of my team asking, I think my answer would be very different, because I do want to remain strong and at least represent that person of either leadership or strength, or, geez, Adrian, if you haven't got your shit together, well, how on earth are we going to have our shit together? So there was a reliance, or at least it felt that way.
Yeah. Did you feel as though you had to fake it a bit?
I don't think I fake it. I just avoid it. That way I feel like I'm not faking it.
So I remember we hung up and we said we'd talk again. And I remember the last thing you said to me was, Adrian brings other people, but who's there for Adrian to listen to? And I remember I hung up, and I reckon I waited probably 6 to 8 minutes, and I thought, well, fuck, Adrian can ring me. I've never met Adrian. And I remember ringing you back up and saying, hey, mate, if you ever want to talk, you can ring me. And I remember you getting a bit emotional about that. Was that because you didn't know me? Was it easier to hear that from someone you didn't know?
Look, it was, and I can't even describe why. I don't know, but it was. If you really took that sequence of events, you hung up after the first phone call. You didn't hang up on me, but you hung up, and then my wife turned to me and said, "What was all that about?" And I'm sure going through her mind was a lot of questions. Not only who were you, what was that conversation about, but I didn't know that this is how you were feeling. I think opening up to you, it was easier because we didn't know each other. I think it was like, mate, it was just all bubbling there. It was just all sitting there, and whether you got me it wasn't a weak moment. I mean, it was as you now know, it was a really tough beginning of the year for me, and there just wasn't anyone around to talk to. And even if they were there, I don't know that I was ready to talk to them. So you got, it all just lined up at the right time, and bang, we spoke.
We get that quite a lot, that it's easier to talk to a stranger who you don't know, because there's no judgment and there's no history or anything to go off to say, oh mate, well, you did this, so you'll be right, blah blah blah. I knew nothing about you. It's such a simple thing to be able to say to someone, mate, just ring me and I'll pick up. Let's go back, because so this was in September of last year, I reckon. Yeah. So towards the start of the year, you did Mount Everest. So in March.
And just to clarify, I didn't go to the top. That's next level, like literally. I went to Everest Base Camp. So
Base Camp.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've decided to go after doing Kokoda 3 or 4 years prior to that.
Yep.
Which was, you said, was really, really hard.
Yeah, really hard.
And then you've decided to go and do base camp, and you've sacrificed a year to give to yourself, to get fit, to get mentally strong enough to do what is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, Everest, the moment I committed to do that was a huge commitment, because you can't you can't go all that way and get halfway and then realise I'm not going to make this. I wasn't going to allow myself to be that person, because there are people that don't make it. In fact, there's something like 15 rescues a day off the mountain.
Wow.
So I didn't want to be one of those rescues. So I needed to make sure that my mental strength, physical strength, diet, everything was working right. Everything, you know, I was going to be as strong as I could be to get there. And yeah, it was a 1 year lead up from you know, all different types of preparation. And in the final 3 months, you know, off the grog, and then, you know, drinking things that I'd never drunk before in my life, and
Like beetroot juice?
like beetroot juice. It's terrible. I'm still of the idea that nothing purple should be consumed, but I did it, and yeah, I mean, it was a wonderful lead up to the climb.
So throughout this, fair to say, you said to me that because you put so much time and effort into you and your mental health and your physical health, you probably took the eye off the business.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of things going on now, and you know, I can reflect about this in hindsight, because at the time, this is the problem. I didn't look at it. I didn't realise it, and you know, I sort of let myself down. I was so focused on my training, and even when I wasn't focused on my training, when I bump into mates or work colleagues or industry buddies, everybody would say, "Mate, you're going to Everest. How cool's that?" And, you know, how's your training and what are you doing? Everybody wanted to talk about Everest, which I was so up for. You know, after 20-something years of real estate, if you want to talk about something different, I'm up for it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And so we did. You know, I was focused on the training, and if you wanted to talk to me, that's really what we would talk about. It wouldn't be about real estate with me. It would be about Everest.
Yeah.
And I loved it. You know, there wasn't one bit of the conversation that wasn't exciting.
So you get to the last night and you're feeling pretty good. You've Facebooked the kids and you're up and about.
On the mountain?
Yeah.
Yeah. So final day, I woke up with a bit of a headache, and we'd been walking. So the base camp routine trip's about 100, I think it's just under 130 k's, and it was the final day before base camp, and I felt a bit headachy and pressure on my head, and I had this amazing sensation where I just wanted to keep rubbing my head, giving myself like a head massage, and I realised after talking to my guide, because I didn't go with anybody I knew, I just went on my own. He said that you've got altitude sickness, and I went on the meds straight away to try and relieve it, and I'd lost all my peripheral vision, so I could only just see sort of through there, and all of a sudden, the group I was with, so I was on my own, but I didn't know the other people in the group. As we were walking, they've sort of taken off in front of me. And I thought, why are they going faster for? But it actually wasn't them going faster, it was me going slower. And I realised I could see base camp at this point, but I wasn't sure if I was going to make it. And I realised at that point, so many people die on the mountain up there from altitude sickness, because they get into positions like me where they can see the goal, and it's like, it's not far. It was 500 metres away. You could see it very, very clearly. And but all of a sudden, you know, I was in trouble, and wasn't sure I was going to make it. But let the record book show that I did make it. I did get there. Sorry, mate, if I took something away. There was
No. Keep going.
I did get there, and I certainly wasn't myself. I was crook, and it's really funny photos of me at the actual camp, because I didn't know how I looked, but I was taking photos, and a few people took photos of me, and I was a bit all over the shop. But I was very grateful. And then the moment that you start descending, you get better. It's that easy. So I was very lucky.
So you get back in March, and that's when the cracks start to appear, isn't it? So things are getting a bit tougher at work, and it's starting to get a bit much.
Yes, I mean, from an industry point of view, we had Banking Royal Commission, we had an election, both put doubt over our industry for varying reasons. But at the same time, the biggest doubt was that I had just not looked at the business for such a long time. And if I hadn't really looked at it properly. Like I glanced at it. And I think really all it meant was that we're in a bit of financial trouble, and it wasn't clear to me how we were going to sort this out. I had varying advice. Sell your house, cut all your expenses, and do all of the above. And it probably wasn't a long list of advice. And I was in a bad way. I was, there were many moments, and as I reflect on them, there was, probably one moment where I was in the city at one of the banks, my bank. I was at a boardroom table, and there were three banking execs on one side, me and my accountant on the other side. And I remember asking, can I get up and get some water? And they said, "Oh, we'll get it for you." I said, "No, I'll get it." I was almost just, I was a broken man. And I said to them that if I didn't do Everest, I reckon I'd be dead.
Was that the first time you ever said that out loud?
Oh, yeah, well, I think so. Yes, I never said that before. Yeah.
Did it just come to you in that moment?
Well, I felt like the pressures were so great that if it wasn't for that mental and physical strength that I'd just come off the back of, I started saying to myself, fuck, how would a person that hasn't done that survive? Because I was feeling this pressure and weight, and it was unfathomable. Like, I've never thought I could feel that way.
Is it through the weight of expectation too? Like you have 30 staff, and there's a lot to, when you made the comment yesterday that it can be lonely at the top, and that's not an arrogant thing to say. It's everyone's looking up, go to Adrian for advice, go to Adrian, he's the one that pays us, and he's the one that gives us a job and looks after us. And that's a whole lot to carry. You're a very, very giving person. You don't only just employ people, but you employ their, about their families and their kids. And it's not just about, for example, Sally or Michael that work for us. It's more than that for you. And I know that for a fact. So there's a huge amount of expectation to feel that crumbling around you. Yeah, no wonder that was the way you felt.
Yeah, I think it was that. And sometimes that you feel the pressure of your team, you feel the pressure of your family. I felt like at that moment I was feeling the pressure of the team, my family, firstly my immediate family, and then my mum and dad, my direct, my brother and sister. And also you feel this pressure of like an industry, because I love our industry, and I've got to know so many amazing people. And that again, that anybody that looks up to you, you don't want to show them any cracks. And it's yeah, it was. It's hard.
How low did it get, mate? How dark did it get?
Well, that was pretty dark. That was pretty low. It was a tough year. It's continued. It continued into this year, and it's ironic that here we are in these COVID times, and I feel, without sounding over the top, I feel so strong at the moment because I feel like, fuck, this is nothing compared to how I was last year. I am so prepared for this.
Bit battle-hardened?
Yeah, I am. And I feel better as a person. Doesn't mean I'm cash is falling out of my pockets, there's that much of it, but it's better. It is. I feel way more prepared.
Who else did you speak to when you've got really, really low? Did you turn to anyone? Did you have any conversations with mates that helped?
I didn't purposely. So I didn't seek out and say, mate, let's have a chat.
Yeah.
There was a moment I was asked to MC the Australasian Auctioneering Championships last year. It was in the city at Federation Square, and a wonderful event, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And there was no reason for me to show any cracks, so to speak. And then it finished early. One of the days finished early, and I rang a mate that I knew. He's a senior sergeant or something in the city, a cop. And I said, mate, are you around? You want to catch up for a beer? And he said, well, look, I'm around, but I can't drink on the job. But yeah, well, let's catch up. It'd be great. So we did. And I have no idea how it happened, but we were both sharing the challenges of our vocations and our lives. And he's largely, I think cops go through a huge amount. But here was I just, I was on Arbury afloat. I was surrounded by all these beautiful influences. I think that's what they call them these days. And here I am with tears rolling down my face, and just, I don't even know how I got there. But I was just letting him know that, life had been pretty ordinary.
How much pressure did that take off to be able to verbalise it and say it out loud?
Firstly, I was just surprised at myself. I walked out remembering how, where did that come from? And I remember, I've still got the message there, thanking him, just saying, thanks for listening. Like, it doesn't solve the problem, but it's like releasing a little bit of pressure for sure. It was pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
And he shared it with you as well?
Yeah. And I think, I had no clue of what he'd gone through. And, as an organisation, they've got a lot of support for officers and, people in the force that have their challenges because of what they see and what they do. And, I got a lot of respect for first responders because they just get pushed into it.
Yeah.
And sort of on the flip side, from the outside looking in, if people saw me, they think, he doesn't get pushed into anything. His life is great. And that's what I could respect where my mate was at, and he was absolutely shocked where I was at.
Do you think that there's obviously a perception of business owners, just not in real estate, but business owners, and they're quite often held in high regard. They've got their shit together and all looks good, and particularly in the real estate industry, it's perception. You have to have nice suit, nice watch, nice car. So you live in a roller coaster industry. There's some big years, and history shows that there's big ones, but there's also small ones. So depending on where you jump in and how you're going, it can be a really rocky road.
Well, I think, firstly, I think anybody in business, whether you're a real estate agent, whether you're a painter, a plumber, whether you're an IT person, or whether you're a retail salesman, you happen to own a retail business. When you're in business, that some of the population, not all and not me, think you're in business, you clearly do well.
Yeah.
But business is hard. Business is difficult. And as quick as you have good years and good months, you can and will have bad years and bad months. And so firstly, I think that's in every business. I have a respect for anybody that's in business. And that's not to say I don't for people that aren't in business, but if you are prepared to risk that on the line, there is immense challenges that are ahead of you, and you'll have your good ones and you'll have your challenging ones. But real estate is that roller coaster. And real estate can mess with people because they gear up for it. Or you'll have a salesman that'll go from 75 to, he'll earn 75 grand, then he'll earn 125, then he'll earn 200 grand a year, and he's flying. And the next year he might earn 120 because of whatever. It might be because of him, it might be because of market, could be because of his boss, whatever. Well, it's not always that easy for people to handle.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a huge roller coaster.
And there's a perception that goes with it as well. That it's pretty flashy. Let's not dodge it. It's a pretty flashy industry, and there's a perception that you need to be a certain way, and that I think has an effect on people as well.
Couldn't agree more. And I'm not going to say for a moment that I don't like good things. I do. I love good things.
Yeah. And
for those that know me, there's been flash with me. And, some will say there still is. But a lot of it's gone. A lot of it had to go. I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And, the realignment financially, sorted that out. And continues to sort that out. It's not over. So, and there are days where I'd look at car sales 3 or 4 times a week thinking, geez, I'd love to own that vehicle. Love it. And so that hasn't changed. That hasn't gone away. So I do like those good things, but what that's put me through, what that's contributed, you can't blame it, but what that's contributed to is so hurtful to me that I think I'm got some battle wounds with that now.
Yeah. You think there's enough done for the real estate, in all real estate? Do you think there's enough done and enough emphasis put on mental health?
Look, no, there's not. But I reckon there's a lot of industries out there that there's not a lot offered, and it's through organisations like yours, 100 Words, and through people talking about it that play a big role. It's something that I'd like to think that this conversation, I don't know, might help someone. It may not, but I hope it goes a long way in realising that others are out there that it might be challenged. They're not alone in what they might be going through, whether it's business or it could be family relations that get in the way. But it's not easy. I mean, I remember having my moments. For those out there that love real estate, and I love real estate still. I remember 10 years ago having missed 4 listings in a row. And for those that aren't in real estate, they probably don't fully get what it means, but missed 4 opportunities to sell people's homes. And largely these were people that I knew that were a contact or in my pipeline or whatever. I lost 4 in a row. I remember pulling over in the car one afternoon and I just couldn't start it again. And that wasn't because the car wouldn't work. It was just because I just didn't want to move. So it's you know, I sort of get a sense that others might know what that feeling's like. I actually don't know, but if the stories help, then good.
What is that feeling like when you almost are paralysed in regards to you're sitting in the car? What is that feeling like? You just described it the other day as almost like a clot.
Yeah, it is, because you can't see over it. You can't get past it. Yeah. It's just a blockage. And I don't even know what clears it. But, you know, clearly I moved the car. But it is... You asked me if it was a fog, and I feel like, no, fog is like cool. Like I can get through fog. But this was just I couldn't see past for those moments. And there were times like that last year where I found myself just, I don't know what the answer's going to look like. I'd go to bed at night. Yeah, it was terrible because, you know, I'm supposed to have the answers. You know, I go to bed at night, you know, thinking, oh, we might need to sell a house. Or go to bed thinking, to sell the business, I'm out of there. I'm going. But it was, there weren't the answers, but I would just have these things going through my head and there was just nothing was making sense.
When was the last time you had one of those?
Probably last year. Yeah, this year I've been good.
Yeah.
The challenges haven't gone, but I haven't felt that way. I felt strong. I felt like there's some clarity. It's not perfect, and that, you know, as I sort of forge my way through it now, I feel like the problems that quite possibly if I hit the same problem last year, it would have been terrible. You know, I just wouldn't have enjoyed it. But now the problems seem like they're achievable. Like we can sort through it. Yep. I felt okay this year.
Do you think that'd be a fairly common feeling because of the roller coaster way of things in real estate? Do you think that'd be fairly common? More so for owners, that it is tough. It's volatile.
Yeah, I think for a business owner in our industry, and again, I reckon it could be compared to many industries, it's hard work. It's different personality types. You know, someone said to me this year that she reckoned I'd do okay in crisis, and I reckon I do too. But fuck, last year was a crisis, and I didn't do too well in it. So, you know, I've often thought to myself that I do okay in a crisis or an emergency. But I can't explain why I didn't do okay in last year's emergency or crisis. It actually wasn't an emergency. It was just a disaster.
And the role that Dee played?
Yeah, she was there. She's always given me these little, I think I described them to you yesterday as like little guiding lights. She's not there with the flashlight saying, here, grab my hand, I'll take you through it. She just drops these little things and says, here you go. And I don't think it's even intentional, but I pick up on little things and she helps me get through it.
Yeah. If someone, so clearly without the background of having gone to Everest and, pushing yourself through that last 500 metres, which is obviously, one of the worst things you've been through. And then to have that as that backstop for the rest of your life, that's an unbelievable thing to be able to say that without that, you might not be here. Do you think about that much?
I always thought that going to Everest was going to give me something. And, when you start reading up and learning about it, there's this holistic thing and there's, it's a very religious place and I'm not a very religious person. And, people go there looking for guidance and there's, prayer flags everywhere. And when I say to you, I did everything to make sure I made Everest, I did everything. So when they say you walk around a monument a particular way, that's how I walked around it. Mm. And I'm not a very religious person, but if they say that the prayer flags give you good luck, well, I had the prayer flags draped over my backpack, and that's true. So I wanted to make sure that whatever could help me get there and back, I did it. I knew it would give me something, and I didn't know I would come back to the disaster or the greatest challenge in my life, what felt like the greatest challenge in my life. But now as I look back, it absolutely gave me some sort of, without sounding like a wanker, but a deeper meaning, something bigger. So it's, I'm very grateful that I did that. And I think, if you go a step back, Kokoda was huge. Kokoda was the most, physically hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And I did not train nowhere near as much as I did for Everest. So Kokoda killed me. And Kokoda is steep, wet, rain, mud, leeches, mosquitoes. There's challenges after challenge. But no, that prepared me for Everest, so to speak. If you can do that, you can do anything. That's how I felt.
What advice would you give someone now who's feeling like that clot and they're in the car and they can't fucking move and it's all getting too much? What have you got any advice for someone like that?
That's a hard one because it's sort of like what's your reset? What's going to reset you? And there is a reset. There's something that can turn you back onto the good person that you were. And for me, it is those thoughts, it is those memories, it is that I feel strong, I feel like I can do anything, and that's not void of challenge. It's I think right now it means that when I have my challenges now, I get it, like I'm allowed to. It's okay to just be a bit messed up every now and again and just think this is really difficult. And that makes it easier because the times where I thought I'm bulletproof and this never happens to me is when it's been the worst.
So there's a level of acceptance that shit's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
How hard is that to swallow?
Well, I think it's easier now. It's not something that you think that's fine. I don't sit back and go, oh, that's fine. But I accept it better. I can still be frustrated. I can still be disappointed. In fact, I usually am. But I accept it better. I don't get that clot, and where I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I can't see past it. In fact, when things go wrong now, I feel like I see past it pretty quickly. Doesn't mean I don't go through the same pain and suffering, That's it's been even this year's been a roller coaster. Yeah, because of COVID, because of all the challenges that have come with that. But I still see that light. I feel like I deal with it way better.
Yeah. Got a couple of questions here, mate. Yes, it says, Adrian, how do you handle and control the nervousness now? You sort of just touched on that then. Sorry, I should have read that question before. It's not easy, but obviously having gone, you go back to Kokoda and you go back to Everest a lot internally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't pick myself up and take myself there. I feel like I've always felt like I can do anything.
Yeah.
And there was a moment of my life where doing anything meant not failing. And, I don't want to fail at work, and I don't want to fail with my team or my family. And the failing is in me. So Everest was, when you look at Everest, I said it before, I see why people die. Because they think they can, but they're not listening. They're not really just follow the signs. And what I do now, in everything I'm doing now, is I'm just following the signs. I'm not about to just push through and say, oh no, look, just buy that fancy car because you'll be able to afford it. You'll sell your way through it.
Yeah.
That's sort of how I used to be. Doesn't matter, it'll be okay. So that's why people die on Everest, because they just go, no, I can do it. And then they don't make it. And I think that's in what I'm doing now is I'm just saying, all right, well, it's not about not making it. Just follow the signs. It'll just take me down a different path. I might get there still, but it'll just be a different route. And, instead of the big fancy car, just buy the little one. Still got airbags. So,
and just slow down a bit. Will that be a fair thing? And except it's shit tastes bad, right? Shit just tastes bad, and to have to swallow it is there's pride involved and there's dignity involved, but to do it and get through like you're doing is incredible.
I think I'm way more accepting of that. But I still believe, and this is the difference. Not for a moment have I stopped believing that I can't have the biggest and best business in the west of Melbourne. Not for a moment. Not for a moment have I stopped believing that, I can't operate some of the best people and we can't mentor each other and go. None of that's diverted me from that path, but I try and follow more of that. Sounds like a bullshit thing as I say it, but I do. I just listen more to, whether it's listening to other people. It is. We talked about it, lonely at the top. I didn't have a peer group around me. I'm not part of another group where I can talk to other principals. But it's picking yourself up and talking to other people. I found a big help. I have been a skeptic of people. I used to have business coaches and paying them thousands of dollars a month. And I don't know why, but I would start second guessing going, I'm paying them thousands. They're just going to tell me what I want to hear. I need someone that's earning nothing from me. They just tell me honestly, it's just a good decision.
Yeah.
Because they're not all good decisions.
No. And someone without judgment who just listens. Mate, we've got a question here. It's from Kane, who says, mate, thanks for sharing your story, Adrian. Really inspiring. And, mate, you are not alone. What an achievement to get through Kokoda and Everest. Mate, that is exactly right. You are not alone, mate. You are not alone. And through all of this, you and I have developed a friendship, and I feel as though I can ring you at any time and have done, and I know you feel as though you can ring me at any time. And that's how this thing started, was just through a simple phone call.
I appreciate it. It's important to have people around you that you can talk to, and I think for everybody, one thing I've learned out of this is, I've probably got people around me right now that I can talk to, but I haven't, and that's my fault. That's my blockage. But for my only advice would be, if people feel like they haven't, they need to find them.
Yeah.
Yeah, just ask someone and say, mate, if I'm ever not feeling good, do you mind if I call you? I don't know. I reckon that will work pretty well, actually. It's probably good dialogue. Everybody's welcome to use it.
And the interesting thing with how's your day out of 10, it's really important to ask, but it actually works in reverse as well. If you're struggling and you want to tell me, the easiest way to tell me is to ask me, hey, Turts, how's your day out of 10? I say, I'm having a 7. And then I will ask you, Adrian, how's your day out of 10? And all you need to say to me, if you're fucking struggling and it's really hard, is just say 2. That's all you need to say. And then I will, I'm going to, ask and ask more questions and be there to help. It's an easy way for people to reverse it and ask in advance so that that person asks them. Because all you're wanting to do, I'd imagine, is someone to ask you, hey, mate, what's wrong? And be an outlet.
Yeah, it's still a really hard conversation, and I think I'm not, like right now, I can have a conversation. We've been talking for 45 odd minutes, and we're talking about some serious stuff, and there's some fun in it as well, and there's been a cool adventure, but there's parts of what we're talking about that I really struggle with, and
Okay.
and here I am. I think that whether it's deep breaths or my breathing or how I try and hold it back, but my natural instinct is just to hold back because it's hard to talk about, and I want it. I wanted to talk about it, and I can only imagine how hard it is for some people.
Mate, you're a really, really well-known person in this industry. So when I ring you and ask you to do this show, it'd be really easy to say no. Really easy. So there's a lot of people watching this that know you, that have no fucking idea what you've been through. You didn't have to put yourself out like you have tonight. How do you feel after doing that? Because this will surprise a lot of people. A lot of people do and still will hold you in high regard, but after this, they will hold you in even higher regard.
Well, firstly, I don't do it for that, but thank you. I certainly, my wife would say that I don't care what other people think. And sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I'm often, I guess as a vocation as an auctioneer, I've put myself on stage for 25 years. And that's, you don't always sell property on stage. And it's not always easy. And you have people that are unhappy, you haven't been able to deliver or whatever, but largely, people are happy. I think the reason I said yes, Craig, was because I think it's important to talk about. And I think if we can talk about it, some people will have, it doesn't cost anything to talk about it. And it can cost a fucking lot if you don't talk about it.
That's it in a nutshell, mate. That is it in a nutshell. It costs you nothing to talk and nothing to ask, but if you don't, you might not get the time to do it. Mate, I'm so fucking proud of what you've done tonight, and I hope that you are too. I know you are sucking some pretty deep breaths in there. But mate, you will have had a huge effect on people. Someone's just written in here. My name's Ash. I know Ash, so I know I can say his name. I'm 19, and your story has had a massive influence on me and an impact. To hear how you felt and went through your battles, and how it's changed you, you can handle anything in the future. And he's right. Man, that's from a 19-year-old kid who gets it. Who gets it.
And this is, and it's great to hear, because everything that we've talked about is of course it's some of it's really hard and it's real and it is, but I still wake up knowing that I'll have my battles every now and again. I still wake up feeling like I can do anything. I still wake up and think that there are no limits. It's I feel like that, and I want to almost convey that, because I want to say that, because I feel like that this is not. If you have dark days or you have mental health challenges, whatever form they come in, that is, it's not a disability that gets in the way of everything that you do. It'll be a challenge sometimes, but I told you yesterday, Craig, that when I did Kokoda, it's the hardest thing I ever did. There were 5 of us that did it. I only knew one of them, one other bloke in that group. But out of the remaining 4, one of them was blind.
Wow.
Which just, I had nothing to complain about, because here's this guy, mid-20s, and he smashed it and gave me strength even when I was suffering. So I just want to, I remind myself, and for anybody that is watching this, that find the strength, because this is not a disability that can get in the way of you doing anything, because you can do anything.
Mate, there's a couple here, friends of mine, that said, very inspirational. Thank you so much for putting yourself out there and showing your emotions. I'm sitting here in tears. Mate, that's the effect that you're having. Yeah. I said this to you before. I'm really proud of you, mate. You're doing such a good thing to come on. You didn't have to come on tonight. It would have been a lot easier not to, I know. But to put yourself out there as a leader of industry, that is real leadership, my friend. That is real leadership. And you're to be commended.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and what you guys do, what you're doing, that's why I reached out, not to be on a show for an hour, but I reached out because I know people around me here in the western suburbs that could do with a bit of a hand. A couple of blokes, our age, my age, that should be listening or talking about it, at least listening to these stories. And, this has come about because of that reason. And I still want to be able to follow through on that initial idea to deliver this, to people that I know that could really benefit from the conversation.
And we will, mate. When COVID has passed us, and we will get through it as a country, and when we will do something for sure, and to bring 100 words mate to mate and your passion to the people out in the West. Another person here, mate, this guy, the mate of mine, lives 2 doors down. Adrian, thank you so much for your courage, mate. Just massive, mate. Massive. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on board, and I can't wait to do a function with you and for your community. This would be huge.
Pleasure. Yeah, mate. That'd be an absolute pleasure to make that happen, and appreciate you giving me a voice, whether I liked it or not. But no, it's I don't know why I'm saying this, but I enjoyed being on the show, as hard as it was to speak. And you talk about empowering. I don't know if empowering is the word, but sometimes when we talk about things or we say things, it's like a commitment. It's like you're writing yourself a verbal contract to say, so what's coming out of my mouth and the good that I've taken out of what I've learned. That sometimes it's a reminder, because we forget a lot. And tonight's a good reminder, even to me, that all the good things and the good things that I've done and the good things that you're doing. So, mate, I appreciate it. So thank you. Thanks for having me. Absolute
pleasure, mate. This is the power of mates communicating, starting a conversation with, "G'day, mate, how's your day out of 10 going?" And we've had plenty of those, and we will have plenty more, my friend. Adrian, you're a star, mate. Thank you so much. You've been brilliant.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks for your honesty and your openness, buddy.
No worries.
I'll speak to you tomorrow.
Thanks very much. See you later.
See you, mate. He didn't have to do that. And he was a bit reserved at first to come on and do it. But I said it before, that's what leaders do. That's what leaders do. They lead from the front. They show vulnerability and care, and to be able to do that as a man of who he is in the industry, that will have a profound effect on the industry. And I hope that he and I and other guys like Matt Scafidis and Andy Reid and Ed Smythe and Holmesy, David Holmes, can get together and do something for the real estate industry. So that was huge. Big thanks to all our sponsors every week. Shelley Wood, Shell, thank you. One of the most special ladies I've ever come across. Splice Communications, you need anything done for your business and communications, Shelley's the one to ring. To Matt Afton, a dear friend of mine at Atlas Brokers, does a huge amount for 100 Words Mate to Mate, and we thank him and his team. And to Brett Phillips, a dear friend of mine who runs the only tennis show in this country, the First Serve, does a huge amount for the tennis community and does a huge amount for us at 100 Words Mate to Mate. Just ring your mates. If you take nothing else out of the 25 shows we've done, just ring your mates and ask them how their days out of 10, or ask them how their week's been out of 10. You will have a profound effect on them, and you will open them up, I promise. That's exactly how tonight happened. On behalf of myself, all the boys at 100 Words, and Matt Walton, who does all the tech and produces your show, thank you so much, Walty. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.